Welcome everyone to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 8. It's called All In. So full spoilers for the episode, as always. We ended our mid-season break with Tarka and Book running away in his ship with their new mobile jump drive, and they're going to try and build a bomb that they can destroy the anomaly with, while this episode sees everyone else realize what they've done and they want to try and stop it, whilst also finding where the beings that made this anomaly are. So they're sort of looking into that whilst also trying to stop Book and Tarka from potentially starting an interstellar war that they can't possibly win, you know, because these beings are so powerful. One might call them, I don't know, shadows or Vorlons, for example.
Actually, I was getting some Babylon 5, like, ancient ones. Yeah. Only because we just watched, like, the big epic war
yes.
between everybody.
So, what did you make of this one, then?
I enjoyed this episode a lot, actually. I thought, it was nice to get Joanna Woshikun like an actual part in the episode, where she's not just there to say, thank you, you're so great, Michael Burnham, and then leave.
And to be fair, it built upon the two main character beats she's ever had, one of which is she can fight, and the other one being that she's kind of stood up to Saru a couple episodes ago.
Well, I liked her role in this episode. It felt very rewarding, and I just wish that they would delegate more in the show.
It's always Michael. Michael's always go on the mission. At least here it made sense, and it
makes sense for her to go after Book. Yeah,
and I actually. Well, it's not so much that it makes sense for her to go after Book. It makes sense for her to go because she has a personal connection with this broker character.
She's a courier. She has the history. If anybody's going to talk to Book, it's going to be her. And I do like this place that they go to, this Karma barge and I think this character of Haas was like legit entertaining. I watched it with the subtitles on. I turned them on because like, what is he saying? But I really enjoyed his little like character quirks and dialogue quirks.
Well, much to your surprise, I actually also liked this character and thought I thought he was entertaining. I actually thought I recognized his voice, and it was bugging me because I'm not sure if I know him from something else. Maybe he's done other alien roles or something somewhere. But
yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I think I'm with you. I looked on IMDb, but I couldn't find
the cast list isn't full yet. Not everyone's there.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately.
Maybe that's why. And I didn't bother looking at the credits, but yeah, that could have answered my question.
But I thought he was entertaining. I liked the general playfulness of this episode, and I liked that it did feel smaller, and it wasn't them saving someone. It wasn't this planet's going to be destroyed in a minute or something. It was kind of nice that, I roll my eyes a little bit in the, Awoshiko's going to have to fight for their money and like this gambling fight thing. But other than that, I actually kind of liked Michael and Book competing to try and buy this substance they need to make this bomb. Michael's there on behalf of the Federation to try and buy it. Well, actually, technically she's not. Technically, this is a loophole. She's here because this broker.
She's outside of Federation jurisdiction.
Well, yeah, but that would be true either way. She's here because officially, this broker will have images of where this race is the closest to this barrier where this species that built the anomaly are, right? These ancient ones. This species should, in theory, have some star charts of this part of space, and this broker will have some of those. So that's why she's there officially. But in a loophole sense, because the Admiral, who, even though he said in front of the President, you're forbidden from getting involved with Book, you're too close to that, then came afterwards and goes, right, I handpicked Tarka, so I feel bad. So you go out there, you find Book with some loophole, and you stop this from happening.
Yeah. I think I like this episode also because I do like Tarka's character. Like, I think he brings a nice energy to the show. He's just a really interesting guy. Like, the actor's really good, and he performs the character well. He's got charisma. He's got a healthy ego, which adds like some comedy and some interest to the performance. So I like watching his character on screen, even though I know he's villainous.
Do you know what I think I dug about this? is that this episode, because it wasn't doing the plots as big as they normally are, is that I think Michael, Book, Tarka, obviously Awoshiko we mentioned already. I think all of these characters benefited this episode from actually being able to show some personality. Like, see when Michael and Book are playing poker, because ultimately they both succeed in what they're doing, which is Michael and Awoshiko are trying to triple their money so they can like buy the substance, and then Book and Tarka like have basically been told if they can like wean out like the cheaters in the club that they'll be able to buy it. So they're sort of competing against each other at the same time, and they end up inadvertently helping each other. But once they both like finish at the same time, the broker's like, "Well, that's a tie. So for my amusement, now you're going to play this game of poker."
And there's two other interested parties in this.
And
ISO linear stuff. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, and they're pretty shady, and they know that like both of them know that if either of these two get their hands on this to make this type of bomb, that this is really bad. So Book and Michael actually work together by like kind of not quite cheating, but letting each other know like, I've got a good hand this round, so you know, like let's work them and get rid of them, and then we can get down to two of us. But I thought this montage of them playing poker, or even just when they first arrive here, and Michael is like in the broker, I actually thought that their playful chemistry and him being like, "Oh, are you here as Starfleet or as the Right Hook?" And she's like, "Oh, a bit of both," and like it felt like there was actually some camaraderie. And I'm so used to not feeling that on this show because everyone's just so. They're either just doing their duty or they're so supportive of each other to like a fault that there's just not much room for like any other type of personality. Whereas here it actually felt like, oh no, like we're seeing kind of this other side of what Michael was in this time, and this character's so fun and playful to be around, this broker character, that he's bringing out something in her and something in Book and some of the others that is we've not really seen all that much recently, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just Book and Michael for like a year just being space pirates basically, or playing you know, good space pirates though, like being couriers and being on the shadier side of the galaxy. So it's interesting to tap into that, because although we skipped that whole year for our viewing sake and we just kind of hear about it, we're like, well, what we know about Michael is that she's very much I don't, like, she grew up on Vulcan. She's very, very loyal and very, although she was a mutineer, but you know what I mean? Like she's very Starfleet. And so to like see this side of her that's playful and fun and, you know, against the rules and not so by the book, which is not meant to be a pun, but you know, it's fun when it pays off, and I think it pays off really well because they wrote a really great character and they got a really great actor to play him, I think, you know.
And this also works as a critique for the past season and a half, because this is the first time I felt that there was actually a year of time where she lived in this world. Like,
I don't know if I agree with that. I think
no. Well, that's how I feel. This is the first time I felt like, actually there was time in there. Do you know what I liked the when they arrived here on the shuttle. I thought the visuals were quite nice of the monster, because there's basically
it's like a sea monster. Yeah,
there's like a sea monster hologram that's like disguising this Bart. Bart? No, not Bart. What's the word I'm looking for?
It's called the Karma Barge.
Barge. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's disguising this barge and this big, like, sort of like basically giant Loch Ness looking thing, Ogopogo. Piss off by that nonsense. But
I've got my monster, you've got yours.
I thought the visuals of it look quite good. The visuals of the effects in this show tend to look good, but that's just looked nice from like a design point of view of the shot. Not just the fact that it looked high quality, it was actually a nice sequence.
I agree.
So that was nice. Yes, but I'm saying it looked nicer than normal, whereas you'd go, no, they're all 10s. Like, that's your attitude.
Okay, well, I mean, like, it was a very pretty shot. Like, they came in during the golden hour, you know, it's very, it's just nothing but ocean. You kind of see something stirring in the water. Like, what is that? And then it just disappears, like the 3D shark in Back to the Future 2. And all of a sudden there's a barge and it's like Vegas there. Yeah. Vegas on the water.
And all the competition the playfulness, the idea that this broker actually kind of is rooting for Michael and Book to still be together is kind of nice and funny. Which, and honestly, like, again, him caring about them being together was actually maybe some of the most that I felt in terms of like them actually being a couple. I feel like them being a couple's felt like just a thing that exists in the show rather than actually feeling like there's a romantic connection with them.
I mean, yeah, they're both so pretty. Like, they were bound to like get together in a year of working together, but of being like just isolated together, you know. So it makes sense that they're together because they're both so beautiful. Like,
it makes sense.
I assume that's what beautiful people happens to them.
It makes sense, but did you feel it?
I have felt it in other episodes. I did really feel it in this one and in the previous episode where they're at odds. Because, you know, before I'm like, okay, yeah, they're a couple. I accept this and it seems fine. They have a fine chemistry. I don't feel the emotion as much as I did with her and Ash Tyler.
Sorry.
I'll wait, because I'm not joking. I love season 1 of Discovery. I think season 1 is the best season of the show. I think it's great. And I think that I think the reason that I like season 1 a lot is because I think Michael's character is just really well done in season 1. I think, like, I found her so fascinating as like this woman who grew up on Vulcan. So like she's a human but grew up with Vulcan restrictions of like, you know, just pushing feelings down and not addressing anything. And all of a sudden she has this crush and everything's like amplified because she's never experienced that before, and she has to, you know, deal with this feeling of love and realizing she's never been in love before. So I did feel the romance and the chemistry between them, even though you clearly ignored it. And so I don't really feel that with this, because all of a sudden they're just a couple, and which is fine. Like, you know, throughout season 3, like, I understood why they were a couple, but now that their relationship is, you know, on the fritz, like, I do have some emotional investment in it, because, you know, the last episode and this episode is both of them coming to terms that this is over, and I have, you know, felt the weight of it.
The one thing Book did have that Ash did not was at least he himself had some charisma and personality, and so that was an improvement over Ash just on that front. But I still felt just that they were thrown together, but I never felt chemistry with Michael and Ash. I'm sorry to say. I'll leave it there. But that was a genuine reaction to you using that as a positive comparison. So
I'm sure.
Hey, like, anyone can go back and check out me and Connor reviewing season 1 and 2, and they'll like my consistency on my feelings of Ash Tyler is there. This is not some new thing I've just decided. Okay.
Oh, and this episode, because you brought up the Book chasing around the cheating party, and it turns out to be not a group of people, but actually just one person,
a changeling,
and it's a changeling, which is so rewarding and also a bit confusing for us Deep Space Nine fans, who, you know, we know about the changelings and who they really are, and, you know, this is taking place,
no spoilers,
800 years in the future. I'm not going to say anything, but this is taking place, you know, what, like 900 years in the future, 800 years in the future. I don't know, actually. It's been a long time since, you know, the events of Deep Space Nine. And so it just, the fact that there's a changeling around just sort of opens up a lot of doors and possibilities. And it's like, wow.
How have you not mentioned yet that it changes into a tribble and
a really fast tribble too.
Yeah. Darting around there.
It was just really nice to see. I mean, the design is a little bit different, but it's familiar and like updated, you know, but you still know exactly what it is from looking at the face.
Oh, sure. I mean, I didn't, but I mean, it's not hard to understand what the word changeling means, and then it's transforming from, you know, being to being.
There's a main character on Deep Space Nine, Odo, who is in the whole season, a whole series, I mean, and he's a changeling.
Okay.
But you know, find out more as the show goes on.
Yeah, also on the time jump, I don't know if they mentioned this last season. It makes sense that they've installed one, but they mentioned a holodeck this episode, and I was like, oh, have we seen them use the holodeck before? I don't know if we have.
Yeah. We saw, I want to say it was, oh, never mind. That was Prodigy.
Yeah, I don't know if we have. And it's funny because it's just Stamets like saying to Culber, hey, you need to relax. Let's go to the holodeck and have a walk in, the flowery fields or something. And
yeah, I guess they had one installed. That makes sense.
I mean, that makes sense, but
even though they're super dangerous.
It makes sense, but I was thinking that they didn't show us the scene, and not that I feel like we need to see them walking in the holodeck, but it did make me wonder if they've made a conscious choice, despite the fact that they have had a holodeck presumably since the start of last season. That, well, not the very start, but once they had their ship upgraded and stuff, that maybe they've made a conscious decision that the holodeck was such a constant thing in next gen that maybe they're saying, oh, we'll establish that it's there, but we're not really going to do things in it because that was very much a next gen thing, and we'll just leave it.
Yeah, it is very much of its time, because if you really think about it, next to like the transporter, the holodeck is probably the most dangerous thing on any ship ever. Well, also next to Data. Data is definitely number one most dangerous part of the next generation.
Well, we got Zora now to be dangerous potentially.
Potentially, yeah. Oh, and on that subject, one thing that I'm also a little bit conflicted on in this series is the introduction of these bots, which Culber yells at one of them because he's trying to clean, and then this bot is like also trying to clean. They have personality. They seem to be somewhat sentient. I think we saw last season, though I can't quite remember, that a bit of the computer is in, like Zora is in maybe these like 3 working bots. I'm not quite sure. In any case, I don't like droids in Star Trek. We established that if something has sentience, it cannot be furniture anymore. So I don't want sentient robots that aren't, that don't have autonomy in Star Trek, is what I'm trying to say. There's been episodes about it in Next Generation, one upcoming that you haven't seen yet, about exocomps. So that's all. If you're going to have some sort of like sentient robot, it better have autonomy, is all I'm saying. In Trek.
Okay.
They're not allowed to be furniture.
Okay. I mean, I have a long list of concerns and critiques of the series, but
yeah, I think that's, I think that's a rule that we should stick by.
You're allowed to have one. It's okay. If I encourage more, critiques, concerns.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe they're not sentient, or maybe they're. Or maybe they are maybe they're hired to clean, like they get paid or in Latinum or whatever. Maybe they want to be there.
So what you're saying is it's not a 10. Okay, we've established that. There's a problem.
Oh no, they're all 10s.
No, you've got a problem with it, therefore it's not a 10.
Well, I mean, I have problems with Jurassic Park. It's a 10.
What problems do you have with Jurassic Park?
The T-Rex clearly climbing the wall with its tiny arms.
Okay, fine, but still, that's not... That's a logistical complaint, not a moral complaint. Touche. Well, there you go. I win.
Mean, there are moral complaints in Jurassic Park also.
Yeah. So yeah, they're looking at where the species that built the anomaly come from, and they've got like a shielding around them. It's like a big bubble, and or a blob, as the president calls it. And it's like, okay, this is taking a massive amount of energy. They basically figure out that the anomaly is actually a mining tool, and it is actually just retrieving this common substance that's on a lot of planets, and it's just extracting it because that's what they use to power their massive bubble and whatever else they've got inside. And that's all it's doing.
It's like a force field Dyson sphere.
Yeah.
That's covering maybe like 2 or 3 planets and some sort of star.
Yeah, basically the solar system. Or
Yeah, so this, Burnham puts it as it's not a weapon, it's a dredge. Like they're just mining.
yeah, and if that's their mining tool, then what their weapons like? If this is given how powerful this thing is,
Right. This is what makes me think of like the Babylon 5 comparison of the ancient races. If they're just like, look, we're just like ants to these guys. So how do we like get noticed without upsetting them and them just knocking our anthill over?
and of course they get worried because if Book and Tarka do blow up their tool, they're probably not going to be happy that their energy source has been disrupted.
Yeah.
But this also explains why it's going to like seemingly random different places. It's going to places that have this resource.
Yes. Although I also don't know what Tarka's intentions are. Like Book obviously wants to destroy it, but Tarka seems to have some other like, this might be...
It wants to harness its power so he can get to a mirror universe. Because remember, he had that speech, in that episode right before
and
the gap.
like brings out some information from him in this also. Just mostly that he's had like a really great loss. But I like that for her character that she has this ability to draw this information out of him.
Well, it's not new to us. I don't think she gets anything new out of him that we didn't already get from the speech she already gave to Book, but I think it's important for the characters that she is like sussed at least some of this out, like at least some of his motivation. And obviously she can't leap to, he's going to try and go to a different universe because his friend went there, or maybe went there.
But she knows that there's a personal motivation behind this, and he describes it as a loss greater than you can imagine.
Would you believe it actually giving one of these characters like a moment like this builds them and gives them personality and makes them feel like more fleshed out characters? Would you believe it?
I want more delegation.
Presenting
from
them
Burnham
as smart characters. And do you know what's funny? I love how one of the main frustrating things about Burnham's character has become almost like a running joke in the show at this point, where Burnham's told, no, you don't go after Book, you're too close to it, and they give her that order, and then like 2 scenes later, in walks the Admiral and is like, look, you're very good at doing things when you're not supposed to. So
he calls her creative and ambitious or something. I can't remember the other one.
And I'm like, do you know what? Like, I have been longing since the start of this show for her to sort of learn a lesson that she can't just go and do what she thinks is right all the time. Like, sometimes she has to accept that she can't. And the show is just determined to never have her realize that.
I love the moment in the shuttlecraft when they're together and Burnham's like trying to talk to Oo, but she realizes like, we've never really been alone together and I don't know what to say to you. And she looks uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you guys could be a closer crew if you like trusted your crewmates more and like let them and delegated some of the stuff. Luckily with Book, like seemingly burning all these bridges, that he's not going to be an option anymore. So she's going to have to rely on her crew, which will be a great change.
That reminds me of a moment early on that did make me almost like just get mad at the episode. Is when it's her and the Admiral and they're being grilled out by the President and she's like, did either of you know this something like this was coming? And they go, no. And she's like, well, then explain to me how neither of you knew something like this was coming. And
I like that moment, yeah.
No, that moment's fine, but the moment that made me mad was when Michael jumps in with like, Book's hurting, but like I had no idea he was like even close to doing something like this. And I'm like, in what universe? You could see it in his eyes. He was contemplating extreme measures like every second he was on screen. Like it was so obvious he was thinking about doing something drastic. It was on his face the entire time. Michael cannot.
He did make an
being.
announcement in front of like that council. Yeah, that he wants that thing blown up, and so does Tarka. But I do also like that Admiral Vance, who put all his faith into Tarka, realizes that he also screwed up, made the exact same mistake. So maybe he's like, let's just try to cover this up for both of us, because he gave him free range to do anything he wanted, because he just put all his trust in this person who was going to save him, save everybody.
I'm frustrated because the way they've been playing Book all season, ever since his planet was destroyed, is that he's leading up to doing something dangerous, right? It always felt like that. And the second Tarka spoke to him for the first time, we were like, oh god, he's going to like get in his ear and he's going to convince him to do something wild. And it felt that way the whole time. So like you say, after he's made that speech, try to convince everyone at this World Council, this Galactic Council, to blow up the thing. The idea that she, like, has the... And not even so much that she should have predicted it and stopped him or whatever, but just the idea that she can say with a straight face, I had no idea he could do anything like this. Bullshit.
Well, it is tough to, like, jump to the whole conclusion of, like, people are going to team up and go against me.
I mean, at least for once, Michael gets to know what it feels like for someone to go, no pun intended, off book and just go and do their own thing against the rules, because that's what she's been doing.
He did learn from her, right?
Yeah. It's a taste of her own medicine. Oh dear. But yeah, that was that. Honestly, probably the best episode of this season for me, just because I think it's the best written episode. It's not without its faults. There's still little nitpicks here or there, and there's still little things, but for the most part, though, I think the main stuff with the broker works. I do think that even Michael gets to feel more like a genuine character this episode. Obviously, morefold for...
Well, it makes the most sense that she is on this mission, and I really like that she brings a lower decker with her. And
she's not a lower decker. She's on a goddamn bridge crew.
Well, I mean, she's a lieutenant commander.
She's on a bridge, right? She's on the bridge every other episode. She's not.
Yeah, I don't know. They still kind of feel like lower decks.
Well, that's the point. Is they're not supposed to feel that. That's what I'm getting at. It's the point I'm making.
Well, I think they are supposed to be lower decks. Like, they're not like super high rank. They're not part of the, like, they're on the bridge, but the bridge has lower decks on it.
What do you mean the bridge has? The bridge is on one deck. It's
No,
on
I mean,
a
like,
deck of the
I'm
ship.
talking about like the ranks, not the decks of the ship.
But that's not what decks mean. Lower decks is the grunts who work down the lower decks. That's why it's called lower decks.
Sure. I mean, but they're a pilot. They're not like she's not like part of the command.
I mean, this is besides the point. Like the whole point of what I'm saying is that on a Star Trek show you've got the bridge crew, and the bridge crew are meant to feel like prominent characters, and they don't feel like that, but they should do. Which is the point I'm making. The pedantic definition of what lower decks means is not really the point.
Well, I think that is the point of their characters. Like, that was part of the whole like selling of the show, is that you're going to have your main crew, and then you're going to have all these people that you see all the time, but they're not going to be like part of every episode's, like, they're not going to be a crucial point of the episode. So it's not like we don't get Owoshikun as like she's more of like an O'Brien in not Deep Space Nine, like an O'Brien in TNG versus like Data.
Sure, but I'm saying that over time, I think the audience desires a bit more of these characters, and it should feel a bit more fleshed out. And I'm critiquing, so you don't have to defend it. You don't.
I do hate that I have to like think of their names all the time. Like, I mean, I watch the show with a friend every week, and we have our favorites in the background. Like, we love Testicle Head, who shows up sometimes. Yeah, of course with no lines, but we're like, oh, Testicle Head made it. All right.
I love that even when you agree with the point I'm making, you still somehow find a way to turn it into defending the show.
I like the show.
But it doesn't mean you have to defend every point. You can like the show, you can love the show, and still have things that you genuinely agree with.
I have my critiques.
Okay, all right. But just agree with me when I happen to voice the same ones.
I like that I learned that Cardassians either really love cake or they really dislike cake. I'm not quite sure how to take that sentence from Haas, where he says, "I missed you like a Cardassian misses cake." I don't know what that means yet, but I like the idea of it.
I took that as them loving cake because I think he likes Michael.
Yeah, I think so too. So Cardassians loving cake is a fun little thing to include in the show.
Hey, I love cake. I can get on board with this.
Yeah, we have something in common with Cardassians. I guess that's okay. Our president in this show has a Cardassian heritage. I like her.
Well, we see her eating cake over candlelight with Saru at any point in this season.
She's not into Saru. What's the other lady? The Navarre leader is into Saru.
Oh, of course you're right. This is what happens when the show's away for a month and a half. As I'm forgetting which character had the romance with Saru. You're right. Okay, well,
maybe she's into Saru also.
Maybe, yeah. All the ladies like a bit of Saru. But all I'm saying is the way to her heart now apparently is a nice slice of cake. Just give her some cake, and that'll at least get you in the front door, and then you can woo her from there.
Here you go.
That's this episode of Star Trek Discovery. This was a weird conversation. I feel like they always end up being weird.
Mm-hmm. There's a nice little nod to Aaron Eisenberg. He's got a shuttle named after him, which is kind of nice. He was an actor who died last year.
Okay. Did he work on Trek?
He played a Ferengi on Deep Space Nine.
There was a Ferengi in this episode. You seen a Ferengi in the club?
Yeah. I saw them. They're probably playing Domjot.
Such a nerd. Such a nerd. All right, that is the review. Thank you very much for joining us. You of course can like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All that stuff does help us out, as does letting us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. And of course, you can support us over at Patreon as well, financially, for as little as $1 per month, and help keep all the content coming and get some bonuses for your trouble while you're at it. So go and have a look. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?